Hi, I'm Jim Gordon.
I'm Lita Leapins.
And welcome to another edition of Our City Tonight.
We're here at Hedra, one of our favorite restaurants, downtown Vancouver in the Exchange Hotel.
That's right. Oh, there's some good looking food here, but we're not going to touch it or talk about it yet. That will come later in the show.
And right now, while you watch the title sequence, we're going to hop over to the Cabana Room and talk British television.
That's coming up right after this. This segment is brought to you by BritBox, the streaming service from BBC and ITV, offering unmissable British entertainment in Canada and the US.
Well, Jim, this time we're featuring 3 adaptations of Anne Cleve novels and a celebration of an iconic piece of British television history, which turned 40 this year. And we're also going to let our audience know how they can qualify to win a year's free subscription to BritBox.
Wow, okay, lots to cover in this edition. As Lita mentioned, 3 different shows and a classic show we'll get to. The first one is a show I've been watching for, wow, over a decade, which is saying something for British programming because they don't tend to have long runs like we have here in North America. The first show is Vera. Stars 2-time Oscar nominee actress Brenda Blethyn. This is a role she was born to play. She plays Detective Chief Inspector Vera Stanhope, DCI Stanhope. Takes place in the Northumberland area of England. Newcastle plays a prominent role in the show. This is all just about a group of investigators that she leads. And unlike the other 2 shows we're going to talk about after this, Lita, this really has no personal life subplot or anything in the show. Not to say that Vera is void of anything, but she obviously has led a life, but you see family history come up in ghost-like form occasionally, or like father. She lives in the home that her father owned way out in the middle of nowhere. But there's no personal history that's going to intertwine. She's been a detective so long and in the police force so long that previous cases may come into play with a new case or a character she hasn't seen for 30 years, whatever. But this is all Brenda Blethyn. She's solid. She is her character is driven, obsessive. As I said, no personal life. She pushes her young staff. She's certainly not the most PC or diplomatic detective leader you're ever going to run into, but she gets the job done. And you know what's interesting? I said to you, because you've watched the show as well. And I mean, this is a positive thing. It's not overwhelmingly flashy. You know, there's a lot of North American detective shows, which shall remain nameless, where it's all about the sizzle and the flash and the technical kind of stuff. This is just good old-fashioned detective work. And these shows are long enough that they have time to get the show going, because they usually run around about 90 minutes. So look for that now. Boy, I love this show. Season 10 and 11, wow, that's how long the show's been on, are available now on BritBox.
And you don't actually have to watch all the previous ones because
yes.
she just holds her own in every single season.
Yeah, it's not a continuation thing, but fabulous for her. Okay, we're going to go from the Newcastle area to the Shetland Islands. You turned me onto the show. I actually had to look up where the Shetland Islands are. Mark, our director, is putting up a map right now. This is so far from the mainland. Shetland Islands are 210 kilometers north of the Scottish mainland at the northern extremity of the United Kingdom, but it is the location for yet another crime cop drama that you turned me on to.
Yes, and it's based on another one of Anne Cleve's best-selling novels, the award-winning writer. It has been airing for 8 years. Pretty incredible. It follows Detective Jimmy Perez, played by Douglas Henschel. And this role actually brought him a BAFTA Scotland Award for Best Actor in 2016. Now, his team of investigators, they uncover so much. It seems a lot of crime in this
And it's a great tourist destination.
Yeah, small little close-knit community. What's also interesting is there is a lot of personal life that intercrosses in the show. Yeah. So there's a lot of times they're investigating and they have to bring in a witness, and it's usually somebody they know personally.
Often, yeah.
So there's a lot of tension through that particular variable.
Yeah, it's often where it's the person they know from the pub or something that's come in to give a statement, or they could be involved.
Someone's dad. It's
which is going to happen. But it's interesting too because. It's the look of this show because of the setting. The setting is so rugged and atmospheric, and the fog and the rain and surprising amount of sunshine. I mean, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, yeah.
But it's a character in the show.
It is, yeah, and it's interesting. You see some shows like that the location is part of the show, definitely. We were looking up also when to visit the Shetland Islands. As I say, between June and August, but you're still going to get a lot of rain. It's still chilly, but it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a long ferry ride. We should say season 5 is available now on BritBox. We've got season 6 coming November 9th. We're going to give you a little teaser.
Yeah,
for
piece of
season
the plot.
6.
Yeah,
Yes.
you'll see Perez and his team. They're investigating a doorstep murder of a leading figure on Shetland. So the case actually will take a very shockingly sinister turn. Jim.
Wow. Okay. That's so. And if you haven't seen the show before, check out season 5 on BritBox. And the stories are always ongoing too, so you can follow it through.
Yeah, but you can also pick it up right at season 5. Again, like Vera, these shows hold their own. You don't have to go back and look, but you probably will want to. You'll find out a little bit more about the character if you do go back, but you can start at 5 and 6 when 6 comes around. 6
is November 9th. It's Shetland, a great cast, as we said. We both love Douglas Henschel. He's fabulous. We should mention Alison O'Donnell, who plays Tosh, and the guy that we both love, Mark Bonner, who plays his buddy Duncan. Yeah, it's available now, season 5, season 6, November 9th. Okay, moving on to our next show.
Well, Jim, we're going to go from the Shetland Islands over to a seaside resort on the North Devon coast. This is a great new series called The Long Call.
Yeah, you couldn't get more difference between and contrast between the Shetland Islands and North Devon in this beautiful resort area not far from Bristol. This is a new show, as Lita mentioned, called The Long Call. It centers around an intriguing and flawed protagonist. That's Detective Inspector Matthew Venn, played by the always excellent Ben Aldridge. You may recognize him from Fleabag. When we first meet the reserved but intense Matthew, he's at his father's funeral in the small community he grew up in, but walked away from 20 years earlier after being rejected by his family. We won't tell you why, but now he is back, not just to mourn his father, but also to take charge of his first murder case. And as we mentioned with Shetland, and unlike Vera, the personal really is tied tightly into this show and the investigation, to the point where at times I'm thinking, Inspector Matthew Venn, you're just inching up to the line you're not supposed to cross. Nothing illegal, but just because there's so much family history tied in with this case and his backstory. Again, we don't want to give away anything on that, but the visuals on this is great. Where Shetland is rugged and foggy and isolated, this community is inviting, and they're on the sea as well, but it's warm and it's beautiful, always sunny, which I don't remember every time I've been to England, but that aside, it just is a nice contrast between what they're doing in the show, which is investigating a murder, and it continues on. Again, great cast, including Pearl Mackie plays his second in command. Juliette Stevenson, a great actress who's been around for years, and one of my all-time favorite actors, period. American, TV, film, British, doesn't matter. Martin Shaw, who spent a decade on his own great show called George Gently, a cop drama set in the 60s, and in the 70s on a great show called Professionals. Really enjoyed this. And we should mention Ben Aldridge actually grew up in Devon, and his family was part of a Brethren religion similar to the one featured in the program. Anne Cleve has given Ben her big endorsement in this role, which is always helpful when the author wants and gets the person they like. Look for The Long Call, available October 28th. Our last show we're going to talk about was a landmark in television, not just in Britain, but also here, where it aired 40 years ago. It's Brideshead Revisited. And here's the great news, folks, remastered in 4K. Considered to be one of the greatest literary adaptations of all time, and even called the biggest British invasion since the Beatles. That's the New York Times saying that. Jeremy Irons and a young Anthony Andrews, both young guys, taking the story from Eva Lenoir's 1945 novel, Brideshead Revisited.
Yep, and this takes place between the 1920s and the 1940s. It's a story that follows the life and romances of protagonist Charles Ryder. Though Charles is not of any significant money or wealth or family, he befriends Sebastian Flight, who comes from a wealthy family of English Catholics who live in a huge mansion by the name of Brideshead Castle.
Yeah, this is an 11-part series. Boy, Lita, I got to say, this is the first time I saw Jeremy Irons and Anthony Andrews. Of course, Irons went on to win an Oscar. But what a great cast supporting them.
Yeah, and all remastered. It is beautiful.
Yeah, it's Laurence Olivier, John Gielgud, Claire Bloom, Jane Asher. Just a spectacular show, and made it a different time where you could take your time, because there's 11 parts. There's just a different pace. I mean that in a good way. Look for Brideshead Revisited, remastered 4K. It is available now. Before we leave, though, Lita, a giveaway to one of our lucky viewers.
Giveaway. We're super excited to be giving away a 1-year subscription to BritBox. It gives you the chance to really dive into some of the new shows, the new mysteries, as well as some of the fan favorite gems. And just a great way to dive into British television. How do you
people
win?
I was going to say.
Thanks, Jim. You can like us on our Facebook page, follow us, like us as well on our Instagram page, and then direct message us and just say, I am a BritBox fan, and you will be entered to win a 1-year subscription to BritBox.
We will be back again in too long from now with another BritBox moment.
This segment was brought to you by BritBox, the streaming service from BBC and ITV, offering unmissable streaming British entertainment in Canada and the US.
She is an avid writer, teacher, travel enthusiast, and a self-professed hardcore foodie. She has written 3 business books, but is most passionate about cooking. And you've been writing your blog since 2011, Cooking by Laptop. Rebecca Coleman is here with us today to talk about her newest book. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, Lita.
And you've got some treats out for us as well. I love the name of your new book, Vegan Baking Made Easy. That is just a contradiction in itself. Tell us a little bit, of course, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, for one thing, why you're so passionate about cooking and baking in particular. And also this great new book.
Right. So for me, where a lot of this came from is I have a lot of friends that are vegan, gluten-free, have a lot of food intolerances, have allergies. And so for me, it came from a place of really wanting to serve and to create treats that are baked with love for people that ostensibly couldn't have them because of allergies. And so that was kind of how I got to go down the rabbit hole of vegan cooking and baking. But then I've been blogging for a really long time. An opportunity came along for me to write a cookbook. Then an opportunity came along for me to write another cookbook. And I like to say yes to things. And so I took the opportunity. And so, yeah, this is my second cookbook. It's really exciting.
It's funny because we've been bugging you to be on the show since you wrote your first cookbook, which was Aquafabulous.
Aquafabulous, yeah.
Which you can see all the details in the credits at the end of the show for all her books. But it's interesting you say that cooking is your love language. Yeah. It is interesting about baking, though. A lot of people sort of shy away from it because you think, oh, baking, I'm going to eat all my stuff, I'm going to get fat. What's your concept of healthy baking?
Well, I think for a lot of people, baking makes them nervous just because it's so technical. I think a lot of people cook really intuitively, so they can intuitively go to the stove, put a pot on, throw some stuff in, throw some other stuff in, taste it, and it'll be good at the end. With baking, you can't do that. You have to be really careful, right? Like if you put in too much flour or too little salt or whatever that is, it's gonna not taste good.
No.
So I think for a lot of people, baking makes them nervous because it really is a science, more of a science and less of an art, although it certainly is an art. But then when you take things like eggs away, when you take things like milk away, I think that makes people even more anxious. They're like, what? Right? Like, how can I make a cake without eggs?
Well, you make things very simple, and I glanced at your book. You use regular ingredients that you actually can find at the grocery store.
That's
so
right.
It's not a big search. A lot of the specialty cookbooks, you got to search all over the city. It ends up being extremely expensive. So one of the beautiful parts of this particular book is that, like you said, it's foolproof because anyone, well, you still need a little bit of the baking touch, I have to say. So now as we wrap up here, tell us a little bit about your mom. She's the one who really inspired you.
Right, so my mom was an amazing baker. She wasn't the most amazing cook, but she was a really great baker, and she made really great pies. I grew up in a house where we always had baking, always. And so I lost my mom to cancer in 2008. But one of the things that I recently acquired of hers was this green recipe box, and it has all of these old recipe cards in it, and a lot of them are in her handwriting. And many of the recipes in that green recipe box actually form the basis for some of the recipes in this new cookbook. So some of her recipes are in here, and some of them are ones that I took and veganized and modified a little bit. But there are several recipes in the book that are a tribute to her. Probably the number one is her date squares, which every single person that I have fed them to says they are the best date squares they've ever had in their life.
Perfect. And that's another difficult thing to make, so hopefully you make it a lot easier. Well, we certainly appreciate you being on the show finally after chasing you down, the big star. Again, you can find all of Rebecca Coleman's information at the end of the show in the rolling credits. thanks. Take a look at these books. They are amazing. It's nice to have an actual book in your hand.
It's really nice.
too.
It's very cool to call myself a published author.
You are. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, we hope you're enjoying this edition of Our City Tonight. As we always like to do at some point during the episode, is to kind of pause and remind you can check out past episodes on our YouTube channel. You can also, and Lita's taught me this, I can finally do this on my own. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and a bit of Twitter at Our City Tonight. But Lita, it's time for another book giveaway.
Well done,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Yes, we have a book giveaway. We are thrilled to be giving away copies of Rebecca Coleman's newest book, Vegan Baking Made Easy. So how you can win, you can simply DM us on our Instagram account or our Facebook account and say you want to win a copy of Vegan Baking Made Easy. She does a great job. Make sure you follow us as well.
Yeah, we might even be able to get her to autograph a copy for you because we know her. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to Our City Tonight. Well, I'm over here at the ever-expanding but still quite beautiful Lonsdale Quay Shipyards District here in North Van. This month, Our City Tonight begins its 7th year. We thank you for watching as we've grown as a show. And throughout this year, we've been looking back at some clips of the last 6 years, including one we're going to show you right now. A year ago, we talked to Kathy Valentine. She is a member of the best-selling female rock band of all time, the Go-Go's, who have just been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here's a look. Talk about the Go-Go's. You went from playing small clubs to stadiums like in a year. That must have been quite overwhelming for a bunch of young women in their early 20s.
It was an amazing thing, an amazing adventure. And for me, the funny thing is people always think, oh, you must have known you were successful when you had a #1 record and whatnot. And I always say the funny thing is that I felt successful as soon as I found this band, because I had set out from the minute I picked up a guitar at the age of 15 to find girls my age that wanted to do the same thing, that wanted to be in a band. And when I met the Go-Go's, we were all on the same page. We all wanted the same thing. We had the same passion, the same motivation. We were playing to clubs that people loved us. We had our rent paid. We didn't have to work a day job. So to me, I was successful from the moment I joined the band, and everything after that was just an amazing kind of pile-on of blessings. So yeah, it was quite an extraordinary time of my life.
It was great talking to Kathy, and be sure to check out her book if you're a fan. A great read. Okay, let's head back downtown to Hedra Restaurant and Lita.
Well, we're here with Davidian Gray, our retail strategist. For those who've watched the show before, you've met David before. He runs a national retail advisory firm that tracks retail and consumer trends. Dig 360. Welcome, David, to Our City Tonight again.
Good to be back. Thanks, Lita.
Yeah, we're going to dive right in. Retail industry, which is your specialty. Tell us what's happened. What's the current state of business?
Well, obviously, year and a half to 2 years into a pandemic, a lot has changed. But a lot of those issues were issues that were happening before COVID started. What's happened is the change that has had to happen, modernization of both food service and retail, has got compressed into an extremely tight time frame under duress, for a lot of people. So we've seen some do well, retailers, and in some ways it's the big getting bigger. We're also seeing a lot of the smaller players, maybe without the deep pockets, struggle through, some not making it, but others finding ways to pivot just because they're lean and entrepreneurial. And that's both in restaurants and in stores.
Completely, and we talked a little bit about supply chain and staffing. Tell us some of the challenges there.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, my fixation was really store experiences, right? And we talked a lot about that, and the customer being king. Well, the customer's not king right now. I say there's still nobility, but the crisis points right now in the sector are supply chain, predominantly getting product that's offshore, and that could be food, it could be retail products, but starting with factories that were shut down in Asia to the lack of workers in ports both sides of the oceans, to very limited capacity of ships, and trying to do catch up. Everyone trying to catch up the lost product that didn't come in. It's just total mayhem out there, and we're seeing Amazon and Walmart buying ships. We're seeing small players not being able to get their hands on product. So that's a major undertaking right there. And then the other side of it is on the human element inside of companies. You know, a lot of stress and strain on human beings over this time. Morale is down, but we've also lost a lot of employees that have left sectors, left restaurants, they've left stores, they've left head office, and especially frontline. Burnout or other options, or income supplements have pulled people away. So those are the two big issues right now.
Okay, and we're going to talk about holiday, which is coming up really quickly. Tell us, is there going to be a shortage of product for people?
Well, going back to the supply side of things, what we can't do is really tell you what product is going to be in short supply. Although I can say there's a major issue is a chip shortage, which is affecting things like car makers and electronics. All that. But in terms of ships that are trying to make their way out of Asia, and that's where we get a lot of our stuff. Whether you're going to, a department store or Canadian Tire or somewhere like that, on a given week, whether there's product on the shelf that you're looking for, we can't predict that right now, and many of them can't. They may actually be getting a lot of their holiday orders. They're delayed for sure. If they get them in January or February, that's a total disaster for that sector. So that's an issue. And on the restaurant side, we're seeing food product coming in, and even when it's on time, the price is going up.
And your advice, I know earlier to us, is if you see something, get it now. Don't wait. It's not going to be this big sale coming up. And the other thing that you and I agree on is get it local.
Yeah.
So, let's shop and support those people. A little plug in there for Granville Island. All the artisans there, beautiful stuff. Okay. If you're going to have inflation, why don't we buy local then?
That's a great example. We did some work with Circle Craft Market over there, and that's all BC artisans. So if the opportunity, there's not a lot of locally made product anymore. It's just the way it is. But where you can get that, you eliminate that other issue. You should be able to get your hands on it. The other thing is, we got trained for years. Wait for the deal. Wait for the deal. It'll start in November, go all the way through. There may or may not be deals if there's no product to put on a shelf. So if you have something you want to get, you see it, grab it if you see it.
We got a couple seconds left. Can you just talk briefly about the restaurant business?
Yeah.
And that's all we have.
Exceptionally hard hit, and with a lot of chefs and cooks who've gone on, retrained into other sectors. It's a tough life. So we've lost talent, and we've also lost a lot of frontline staff. And not every type of restaurant was suited to a lot of the pivots, like food delivery and pickup doesn't always work for fine dining.
No, you don't want to get a brown box full of, Chateaubriand.
and so go support those that you love and like. A lot of their governmental supports behind the scenes are coming off very shortly, and that's going to put a strain through holiday.
Great. Well, thank you. This is Davidian Gray with Dig 360. He is our retail strategist.
Reminder to check out the print version of Our City Tonight TV. You'll find it, as always, in the latest edition of iconic Concierge magazine. It's available throughout Vancouver.
Back here at Hedra Restaurant in the Exchange Hotel, where we've spent most of this episode, joined by a guy who's been on our show a couple times, but never here at Hedra. We've also been enjoying a little spirits to just pick the mood up.
Greek spirits.
Greek spirits, that's right. Anyway, Chef Brad is here with us to wrap the show up, and welcome back to Our City Tonight.
Thanks for having us.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah, it's so great to see you. We love coming to Hedra, and then there you were the last time we were here. How wonderful. So tell us a little bit about the dishes in front of us and the program associated with each of these.
Yeah, one thing I love about the Mediterranean concept is the focus on keeping quality ingredients, but keeping it simple. And that's really focused here on our grilled Mediterranean sea bass. This is whole fish, chosen and deboned tableside.
Oh, that's always a nice touch.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Just adds to the experience for sure. And then over here we have our shared platters, our hedra dips, which is also one of our happy hour items.
Yes, we have partook in that a few times. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Every single dip is so interesting.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's an extensive menu that's highlighted here by our buckashuck oysters.
Which that is a steal, really. That you have the best oysters in town, and your sister restaurants do the same thing. But a buckashuck, and your happy hour is 3 to 6 every single day. Like it's
Which is nice to see. We were talking earlier off camera about how happy hours, some places are changing 2 to 5. Or 3 to 6 is what it should be, so it's good you're doing it, and you're doing it every day. As we said before, you've been on our show before. Brad, you like to bring your creativity to every place you go. Everything's established here, but you don't want a menu to get complacent. We've mentioned that to you before and what you do. What do you bring to the table with a place like this?
Yeah, I think, obviously, as you mentioned, it's an established place. The concept is simple, and I want to keep rolling with that.
Right.
But I am looking forward to working with the solid team here, bringing in some new products, local stuff, and hopefully launching a menu soon, a new seasonal menu soon.
wonderful. Everyone looks forward to what's going to change a little bit. We want to keep the standards, though, because people come
Of
back
course.
for your lamb. They come back for your whole
Yes.
fish, for sure, and
Yes.
the oysters, of course.
And that tomato salad I think you had last time, which we
yes.
couldn't finish
Oh,
between
my
the two of us. That good. Hey, this has been great. Looking forward to sampling all this food and enjoying the rest of our drink.
Do you know how to say cheers in Greece?
I don't know.
No, we tried to learn it, but opa is what Claire says. So.
Who knows what we're having anyway. Hey, thanks to Claire, Mark, and the rest of the team here at Hedra for welcoming us back here again. Come check this great place out, as we mentioned, just on House Street in the Exchange Hotel. Brad, thanks to you. We wish you luck
Pleasure.
here.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Little Leapin.
We'll see you on the next edition of Our City Tonight. Cheers!
Outdoor wear for Jim and Lita provided by Helly Hansen, alive since 1877.
Soluzione Spa Products, a national luxury spa product distribution company located in North Vancouver, British Columbia.